Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to another of our webinar Wednesdays hosted by CSU Bakersfield Small Business Development Center. I think you're seeing a little different background today if you're used to being on this webinar, which is now number 130 of Managing Your Small Business Beyond the Pandemic. That is correct, 130 consecutive Wednesdays live at noon. 130 weeks is 2.5 years. So we have a little bit of an anniversary here. So we're going to do things a little bit different. We are live from the trade show at America's Association of Small Business Development Centers. We're here down in San Diego. As you see to my lower, I guess you'd call it, we have Josh Fegles with us from Palo Alto Software, the LivePlan. Let's get rolling and let's get Josh in here talking about some great planning and some great things from their booth here at the SBDC 43rd National Conference. Thing great about Webinar Wednesday, we go to what's up today, September 14th, 2022. And as you saw on Labor Day, the FAST Act, AB 257 here in the state of California was signed by the governor. That legislation that some have referred to as not the FAST Act, but the actual FAST one that actually increases the minimum wage for those in certain franchise businesses in California. And we'll be talking more about that later. Today, we're going to be doing a dive into business planning and financial forecasting, and it's going to be a high dive. You're going to get a good introduction, a lot of information from really one of the great resources we have in Central California, and that is the LivePlan business planning software product. We use it extensively. Many of you have used it that are out there. And we're going to get an update and talk about some of the things that we're going to do to even enhance that relationship that are going to be happening in the next few months. So big dive today into business planning and financial forecasting. We will give you an update on pandemic programs. We still have some that are out there. Our capital quarter, we have our three little columns of this webinar as we move into recovery and move on down the road from the pandemic relief. One of those is capital quarter. We're going to look briefly, very briefly, at private equity today. Just a quick, and then we're going to get a quick our economic corner. We just sat through a really nice presentation from the chief economist from Visa International, Wayne Best, and I will just give you a quick synopsis on that for a minute or so. Our dream fund looks good. On later, for those that are applicants that are coming in later, we had Ms. Carolyn Gray, the small business advocate of the state of California, talk a little bit about that as her welcome today here at the conference. And the Dream Fund is still up and going to actually fund your businesses between $5,000 and $10,000. As always, we will take your questions at the completion of our presentation today. And today we're not going to do a poll, so we'll skip the poll this week. I'm not sure I have the capability of doing it anyway, so it's just as well we just kind of move along. So just kind of a quick status and update on key programs. We do have a new program open in California, the California Paid Family Leave, and that is not for employees, but actually for small businesses. Generally, it's broken down into two categories, those that employ less than 50 and those that are between 51 and 100 employees. You can receive a grant up to $2,000. A lot of these programs, we're going to do a much deeper dive next week. So just going to skim over some of these. We do have with us, of course, Maureen. And Maureen will be working the chat in the back end. She will be putting those links there. So you can access those links as we talk about them today and jump in and grab that at any time. So the California Paid Leave Act. Talked briefly about the California Dream Fund. If you have interest in that program, send us an email at sbdc@csub.edu, and we will do our very best to get you into that particular program. We have our California Micro Grant Program, $2,500, still open for businesses in Kern County, Kern being the actual third largest geographical region in California. And so it's open. The California Performing Arts Grant is open, first come, first serve, about $49.5 million in the state. To my understanding, it's still open for nonprofit performing arts organizations that are looking to use the monies in order to actually improve their workforce development in one way, shape, or form. And also Mono County, great Mono County up there. Still has their grant for grant and forgivable loan program. You're going to want to see one of the Jeffs, that either being Jeff Simpson, the economic development manager there, or Jeff Lucas, who is the contractor working on that. You can still access employee retention credit. I know it ended September 30th, 2021, but if you find that you had a need for those particular programs, we're still seeing a lot of people that are still using their payroll service or their accountants in order to go back and file amended payroll tax returns in order to access some of the employee retention credit, the ERC money that is still available, even though the program ended nearly a year ago. EIDL deferrals are coming up, so you're going to start seeing a payment. In our state small business credit initiative, our portion here in California, which is about, a little under $1 billion that we'll talk just briefly about in a few minutes. As you see, we touched on this, up to 1,000 to 2,000 per employee have to be registered in the state. And if you want more information, there's your California PFL.gov. And Maureen probably already has that in the chat box. Internet willing today, that's what we're calling it. It's an internet willing workshop. So things are working fine now. We talked about the FAST Act being on the governor's desk, and it was signed on Monday. That bill creates a new 10-member fast food council with delegates that will set the minimum standards for wages, hours, and conditions in California. Up to, basically, these are fast food chains, but as we talked about last week, with fast food chains, minimum wage going to $22 an hour, it's going to put increasingly pressure on all of our food businesses, all of our restaurants that are actually, paying less than that. So we're going to continue to see kind of some turmoil with our local restaurants here in California, and compared to even with the statewide minimum being at $15.50. We touched on the micro grant program, so contact us if you have any particular need for that program. There's your performing arts grant. Again, it meets certain criteria and it does encourage workforce development. So really a lot of those funds really need to go toward that particular purpose. California Dream Fund, there again is our email address, sbdc@csub.edu. And we are now filling classes for October. Remember, you will need to attend a class, receive one-on-one consulting with an SBDC consultant, and then actually write a business plan, which you can use in LivePlan, and then upload that into the lindustry.com portal. But training, again, does not guarantee success. In about a month, we have coming up our Eastern Sierra Capital Summit in Bishop, California. We'll have we'll have probably dozens of opportunities for you to find capital, access it in various ways, shape, and form, in debt, equity, investment. So we'll have more on that soon. I talked about private equity. I'm talking about Kim Kardashian. Have I ever mentioned that name on this webinar? I don't think so. But she is in the news for actually starting a private equity firm. She's got a partner, and she is a serious entrepreneur, I guess I figured out, with the valuation of $3.2 billion for the Skims business, apparel, maybe some other stuff, but apparel. She started in 2019, and at that time raised about $240 million. And now she's partnered with others to invest in small, medium-sized businesses. So look for her to become a player in investing in small and medium-sized businesses. Obviously, the internet does not like this slide. Our marketing moment with our marketing maven Maureen will return on September 14th next week. And just on the economic quarter, before I bring in our special guest this week, on the economic quarter, our economist at California State University, Bakersfield, and myself, we feel that it was still primed for a 3/4 of a point increase. We heard otherwise today from the chief economist of Visa. Wayne Best is saying 0.5, a 0.5% increase. So, and then it comes back to the point of recession or soft landing. Today we heard soft landing, whereas recession will continue to go down without impacting a full-blown recession. So that's a little bit on our economic corner. Some really good, fascinating information today. And it's really interesting to see that the information on the economy can vary from your source of your economist, but it's interesting information today. So that is, so here is our CSUB YouTube channel. We have a couple of hundred of our videos. Recall we started doing videos back in January of 2013. We do have some of those from 13 back there. They're a little older and a little more tired. Some of them have some really great information still. So if you look at here are 4 of them that have been done this year, that are 4 of the more popular ones as far as by looks. And then a couple of oldie but goodies with intellectual property being a business strategy that was done by the US Patent and Trade Office. And then also franchising your business. Mark Sieper back in 2017, who was a presenter at this very same conference back in 2017. Interesting if you're ever looking to franchise your business. But now you have to take, of course, into consideration the FAST Act, because that is going to impact everything that happens there. Okay, enough of me. And I'm sure you guys don't like seeing me in a jacket anyway, so let me bring in a guy who is not in a jacket unless you look at his picture to the left. And our special guest today is Josh Fegles. He is the academic and government channels sales manager for Palo Alto Software, maker of LivePlan, based in Eugene, Oregon. And he's been with the firm since 2015. It's really been with the SBDC in Central California for about that long, because he has been engaged with us from the very beginning of when he started there, working with us on the particular software and getting it out. You know, I like to, every time I see Josh, I remind him that of our 5 or 6 centers throughout the Central California region, one of them uses LivePlan more than the other. And I think he knows which one that is. Yes, the CSU Bakersfield. So I do have a tendency to remind him that. But as you know, LivePlan is the #1 selling business software in the world. Over 2 million entrepreneurs have used it. They've been the market leader for 15 years and are in 180 countries. It was founded in 1988 by Tim Berry. It's now led by CEO Sabrina Parsons, who's not your typical CEO. Yesterday, Josh had to put up with me all day and in a full day training to try to bring more information back to our Central California region, our CSU Bakersfield SBDC. And of course, the CEO, Sabrina Parsons, was instrumental in delivering that training, that all day training yesterday. So it's refreshing to see from a company that is out there where their CEO is so actively engaged. So Josh resides in Eugene, Oregon, where he spends his spare time going to baseball games at the Eugene Emeralds. And that's all I have on Josh. Josh, you're with us today. Take it away.
All right. Thanks, Kelly. And thanks to everyone joining us today on the webinar. It's always a pleasure to partner with the SBDC. And one bit of my backstory is I had no business experience in college, or I didn't grow up as an entrepreneur. And in 2011, I connected as a client of the SBDC in Oregon and worked with my advisor for a number of years to build a food-based business in Portland. So I've been on your side of the table as a client, receiving the countless hours of value that advisors have to offer. So I'm a big fan. And that actually is part of the story that brought me to Palo Alto Software to work with LivePlan. Is I, as a client of the SBDC, took a business planning workshop in Oregon, and sure enough, they were using LivePlan. So that was, I got first introduced to LivePlan as a client. So excited now, fast forward, been doing this many years, partnering with SBDCs and then helping them use the tool, helping them educate clients like yourself, and just really putting all the tools in the tool belt and toolbox into your hands so that you can be as successful as possible as entrepreneurs. So I'm gonna, let's see if I can share my screen here, and I'll pull in my slides. I'll show you a couple of neat things. Let me go ahead and start this, my slide presentation. And let's see, oh, hang on. There we go. Can you see that? Is that all working right? Okay, fantastic. So one of the things I love to highlight is the SBDC has been our longest partner as a company. As mentioned, our founder, Tim Berry, started the company back in the 80s, and he early on saw the strategic alignment between what our company and our mission was, which is to help people succeed in business, and how strategically that aligns with the SBDC. Because I'm sure as you've engaged with the SBDC, you've felt that, you've received that, you've understood that your advisor is there to help you succeed in business. And so for 27 or more years now, our company has been engaged with the SBDC and then other small business administration resources out there in the world, serving veterans and women and minority and the SCORE chapter. And so there's just so much that our country, our government has to offer in terms of resources for you all out there starting and running and growing your businesses. And what we've identified and really our value to the market is business planning and financial forecasting. And what we've recognized, and I'm sure you have too, is that business planning it's just hard. And one of the most difficult parts of it tends to be getting in and working with the numbers, getting into the forecasts. And then also we recognize that for advisors, their heart, their passion, their lives are poured into serving you as clients, but there's just limited time that they have to spread between all of the folks that they're serving. And then for you as clients, you might be out there trying to pull together a Word doc or an Excel spreadsheet, or you're doing it on your own. And sometimes those experiences can be very frustrating. And so with LivePlan, what the tool does, and I'll be excited to get in and show you all today, is that it really takes that pain point and it really offers a solution to it, so that business planning is educational, it's even enjoyable, but ultimately it helps you as the entrepreneur to tell your story, get all of everything that's in your mind, that all your experience, all your research, all your thoughts, get it into a document that then can be used for strategic management, or oftentimes used to go talk to a lender or an investor to get that capital that you need for running the business or launching the business. And so we'll take a look at this here in a moment. But a couple other things about our software is that it's very engaging. It's intended to help you as the entrepreneur, once you get in there, to feel very comfortable, even if you're new to financials or new to planning or business writing. And then also the software has helped, people simply not quit, in a sense. Sometimes you've got this great idea, or you're really wanting to make a change in the business for good, for growth, but the planning can frankly just get in the way. And so having a great tool that helps bring those ideas to fruition really extends the stickiness for you as the entrepreneur. And then the last two things, I just love that we've seen reports from our partners like SBDC and even from our clients that use the software, that the time spent working on your financials is reduced by almost 70%. And so if you even imagine, if it would take 6 hours, almost a full working day, to put together financial forecasts, and then that's reduced down to just a couple of hours, you've given yourself that time back to work on other things, to be working, on the business and working in the business. And then the last part there is, when going to a banker, that often is, sometimes there's a trepidation, you're nervous, gosh, I hope that, they'll accept my plan. I hope I get those funds. And time again, we see that lenders love when entrepreneurs come to them and they're applying for finances, when they bring it in the format of a LivePlan business plan. So I love that California SBDC offers LivePlan as a part of their advising services. So I can't encourage you enough to talk to your advisor, engage with your advisor, and take advantage of the tools that they're making available to you. Now, I wanted to share just a few stats before we get into LivePlan, and these are just, so we ran some polls coming out of the end of 2021, heading into 2022. And what we found from entrepreneurs is that even heading into tumultuous times, post-pandemic, inflation, recession, like there's all these kind of scary things out there in the world, But entrepreneurs, their confidence and their optimism still remains high. So you can see 80% are confident in the health of their business, 73% are confident in the stability in their industry, even in unstable times, and 80% are confident that they're going to be seeing growth this year and on into the future. I hope that that's you. If it is, then let's put fuel on the fire and keep that fire burning hot, working with your advisor. If you're part of that segment that maybe is in an industry or you're just not feeling as confident, all the more reason to get into the numbers, work with your advisor, and let the numbers determine if there should or shouldn't be confidence. It's one thing to feel great. It's another thing to look at the numbers and to objectively know that your plan is solid and is not just a fair weather business, but that you can make it through, whatever might come. And then ultimately, just a reality that people like you, entrepreneurs, have expressed to us the value of advising. And so really my encouragement to you all, obviously you're connected with the SBDC if you're watching today or watching this video, recorded video. Don't be a stranger with your SBDC advisor. When things are going great, that's actually one of the best times to connect in with your advisor, because they can help you during the good times to plan for, the what if scenarios, what could happen, good or bad, how do we grow strategically. So don't be a stranger. That's my encouragement to you. And again, as a prior SBDC client myself, I got into that habit of, if I can meet with my advisor on a regular basis, I can talk about the good, the bad, and everywhere in between. So that's my encouragement to y'all. And then a few more stats is just, what are the top goals of business owners? And you can see there, you can read them, profitability, adding services, funding, add a location. But what I want to highlight is that all of those goals are financial decisions. Every one of them comes back down to, well, what do the numbers say? What is the bottom line? And the only way that you'll be confident with, or the way that you'll be the most confident with these types of pursuits, goals, and decisions is to have your numbers in place, which LivePlan will really help you to do. Last couple of things, as far as, we talk about optimism, good things coming. One healthy approach, though, is to recognize that there are genuine challenges for entrepreneurs, and almost looking at, well, what causes someone to fail is a good way to prevent that from being you and your business. And so you can see here that one of the troubles is running out of cash. And so there's solutions to that if you're proactive, and then also experiencing cash flow problems. One of the statistics that we like to share, just so that everybody knows, is a good majority of businesses that close because of cash issues were actually profitable. So it's important to manage both profit and cash so that you've got a healthy, stable foundation going forward. And then another thing just to be aware of is that it's hard to be an entrepreneur, incredibly rewarding, but in a sense, the statistics are stacked against you. 3 out of 10 businesses endure to 10 years and beyond. And so what we in the SBDC are always wanting to do is to help, one, change that to 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10. How can we get more and more businesses to succeed in the long run? But if anything, you've given yourself a strategic advantage by connecting with the SBDC to help ensure that you'll be one of those 3 out of 10. And the reason that you can ensure that is that when you engage in planning, in forecasting, and of course, in engaging with your advisor, the planning and forecasting results are that your business is 33% more likely to grow or grow faster. You're 40% less likely to fail. And then again, back to that profitable, that metric about closing when you're profitable, 60% failed when they're profitable. It's just they ran out of cash. And so the summary of all of these slides is that getting into the numbers is the best thing that you could do for your business in the good and in the bad times. So, we'll talk about this when we get in the app, but the software helps to fuel business growth. It makes forecasting easy, dare I say. We're not going to have you climb into a spreadsheet and enter a bunch of data and formulas. Really, the software wants you to tell your story. It's more interview style. And I know entrepreneurs love telling their story. So it really will meet you where you're at. And then this is a fun slide I like to share to talk about how do you use your forecast, your numbers, in a way to make decisions about your business. And I love the Back to the Future analogy here. You know, Doc is talking to Marty and saying, you know, this one thing changed in the time continuum and then the whole future was different. And similarly with your business, you can, with your advisor, talk about, you know, here's one path forward with the business, but what if I made this one change? What if I hired another employee? What if I added a product line? What if I changed a price point? What if I expanded my square footage for my building? You know, all of those questions are really points in the time continuum that will change the trajectory of your business. So using scenarios and using forecast can help you to be smart about making those best decisions for the best future possible for you and for your business. And with the numbers, we gain deeper insights using industry benchmarks to compare. A lot of times entrepreneurs say, how do I know when I'm guessing about the future if my guess is right? Well, we compare it to data just like bankers, investors do. They take, you know, what have different businesses done like yours in the past, and then they say, well, are you in are you in the running? Are you doing about what they say that, or what they've done? Is that match up with what you say you're going to do? And then also in the tool, it's great for reports and printing things out. And this is one of the last slides. Just a quick shout out to, you know, how do I get my financials, my data? You know, I always have my bookkeeper take care of that. That's oftentimes something that entrepreneurs say. Well, if you're using QuickBooks or if you're using Xero, those are two online tools. All the data that goes into there that maybe your bookkeeper, maybe you or your business partner are working on, that can connect into LivePlan. And so all that data then can inform your strategic forecast looking forward. So I kind of like this reverse prism image that you've got this whole rainbow of data coming in, and then it plugs right into LivePlan to help you plan for the future. Okay, well, with that, let me stop sharing my screen, and actually I'll just switch over to my other browser here, and now we're into LivePlan. So in LivePlan, so what it is, it's a business planning, forecasting, and it's a cloud-based app, meaning that if you have an internet connection and really any browser, you can just go to liveplan.com and then click login. Now, I would say, before you even do that, talk to your advisor, because of our partnership, they can make LivePlan available to you for a time at no cost. So, you know, rather than just going and buying your own, I mean, you certainly could do that, but I would say connect in with your SBDC advisor, because one, they're going to want to know that you're in a planning mode. They're going to want to know that you're ready to get in and start working on laying the foundation of planning for the future. And so they can connect you with that tool. And so once you get into LivePlan, it's all based off of email and password. So let me go ahead and get in here with my email and my password. And then I'll give you a quick tour of the tool so that you can get a good understanding of what LivePlan does. Now, everything in my demo, I guess, is pretend. So we're going to look at a pretend health fitness business. But I just wanted to let you know that as we even build out this demo and this pretend business, we ultimately have you in mind. We're always thinking about the end user, the street level entrepreneur who's, you know, has their startup, that's growing their business, that's getting funding. So know that even as we develop the software, we're thinking about you as the end user. So in here in the tool, you can see over on the left, we've got 6 main areas of LivePlan. And you can get in here and kind of start anywhere you want. It's not a, start at the top, work your way to the bottom. But for the sake of the tour, I'm going to do that just so that you can see how it all works. But sometimes folks will get in here and they say, you know what, right now I don't need to write a business plan, but I definitely need a forecast. And so you could actually just skip right ahead to the forecast and get in there, start working on the numbers. Other times someone might even say, oh, I'm not even ready for the numbers, but I'd like to get my ideas kind of out of my head and into some sort of a structured, tangible way to communicate it. And so that's what the pitch is for. It's a great way to, kind of just get your ideas out in a very simple, 1 to 2 page summary. And so let's jump into the pitch here and take a quick look. So what this does is it, again, helps you tell the story. It almost interviews you in a way. And rather than stay on the first section, I click into edit. And now we've got these little micro worksheet activities. You read through it, it asks you, well, what's the name of your company? And so you type in your name. And if you've got a logo, you can type that in as well. And then you just click through each of these, you read the questions, you answer the questions, and it's going to help you talk about what's your value proposition or your headline. What's the problem that you're solving for your target market, and how are you solving it? What is that solution? And then of course, who are you solving it for? That would be your target market. And so you just go section by section, line by line, do your best. And one of the things I always encourage when users are getting into the software is set yourself free to know that the first time you do it, it'll be wrong. And that's expected and okay. In fact, another way to say it is today, whatever you put in there will be your best guess for today. But tomorrow, the next day, you'll learn more, you'll change, the competition will change, the market will change. There's so many things, so many variables. So what you can do is just for today, get in and put in your best. And even if, like, say you get in here and you say, well, I don't even know, you could say literally, I don't know. And that's a reminder for you to come back to that. It's a great reminder for you and your advisor to say, hey, we need to talk in one of our sessions about marketing activities. That's something maybe you don't have experience in. And then you just move on. So don't allow yourself to get stuck. Just, be quick, move through it, and get something in there. They always say the hardest effort is to get from nothing to something. So if you can get in there, get something in there, then that gives you and your advisor something really to engage with and to improve on. Now, in this section of the pitch, you can see we've got some forecasted numbers. But what I love to highlight first is that even before you get in and plug in some numbers and think through costs and pricing and expenses and things, it's actually going to invite you to just use words. So, you can go in here and say, okay, for revenue, I'm actually just going to make a list of categories. I know I've got a product that I'm going to sell. Maybe I've got a service or a membership. You just put those words in there, and that's a great starting point. And then you move on. And eventually we'll come back and, of course, ask more questions to get the numbers in there. But what we want to do is just get it out of here, off the back of the napkin, get it into the platform so that you can start to make progress. All right, so after you've gone through this whole process in the pitch, again, what it'll produce for you is a nice 1 to 2 page summary. You can even click on this download and print icon, and it'll give you a PDF version. So, after just a quick run through, now you've got something tangible. You can share it around. You can get people's feedback and then start, making adjustments. So this is a great way to start in a pitch. The pitch will also present as a slide deck. So if you are getting ready to go to a lender or an investor, we encourage you just to put the data in there, export it as a presentation, and then you can continue to modify it or add images or do whatever you'd like to really spice it up for that pitch, that presentation. Now, moving along into the plan, this is what you would think. This is where you're going to tell the story. Using words, you're going to write the story of your business. And what we've provided for you in the software is an outline. And it starts with an executive summary, which we actually recommend saving for the end, because you'll get in, you'll tell the story, and then at the very end, just like it sounds, you'll want to summarize that. Because a lot of times, interested parties, investors or lenders, they're going to start at the executive summary and read through it to see, should I keep reading? Is this interesting? Does this really seem like a viable option? And so do all your research, do all your work in the other sections so that by the time you get to the executive summary, that's the easy part. You're really just telling a summary of all that you've put in there. So one of the things that the tool will do, which is great, assuming that you're new to this, when you get in to start writing, it'll always have instructions. So read through those. It'll kind of tell you what to expect in this section. And then there'll always be additional kind of abbreviated examples. So if I'm working on my business plan, you know, maybe it's probably maybe not a food truck or a car wash, you know, maybe I'm a gym or a fitness center or something. You know, the food truck, the car wash, the purpose of that is not that it's directly relatable, but that the same type of activity is happening. When a car wash is thinking about, you know, what's the problem that they're solving, you know, the same thing for me. If I have a gym or a fitness center, I've got to think about what is that problem that I'm solving, and then write a paragraph or two, and then click done. And then for you and your advisor, each of these sections, there's actually a place for comments. So maybe you get in here, you do your best work, and then you leave a comment for your advisor and say, you know, would you please review this? I've got a question about, you know, something in the second paragraph. And the advisor could get in, they could read it and leave a comment and say, oh, you know, thanks for pointing this out, and here's my feedback. So throughout the planning portion, there's, just like I said, you click into edit, there's instructions, there's examples, and then a way for you, your advisor, your business partner to comment and give feedback back and forth as you continue to revise it towards a finished version. Now, once you've finished your business plan, you can, you know, go up here and again, click on the little download and print icon, and it'll print out as a PDF or a Word doc. And one of the things that we try to do is make it as, you know, allow you as the entrepreneur to focus on the content and not necessarily have to worry about, okay, now that I've written this, how do I get a lender ready business plan to look professional? You know, really, you can go in here and choose any one of these designed themes, and then it'll really punch it up. As well as we help with chapter titles, cover page, confidentiality statement, you know, just all of the formatting, so that when this comes out of LivePlan and you're delivering it to the investor or the lender, whoever's asking for it, that it looks like you had a whole team working on your behalf to produce this professional lender ready business plan. So moving along, so from pitch to plan, now into the forecast, I'd say that this is really more the muscle of the software. Now the pitch is great, the plan is great, it's incredibly helpful, but entrepreneurs most often will share that financials are scary, or they like to avoid them because I'm not a numbers person. Well, we work really hard to take away any of the fear, any of the avoidance, the procrastination. Now, what you're looking at here in my demo, well, it looks like a lot of numbers, and we click into some of these reports, and sure enough, this is telling quite the story about this business. And don't let that intimidate you, because what this end product is exactly what the bankers and the lenders are looking for. It's actually exactly what growth businesses manage their business toward with these forecasts. But the way to get to this, just like with the plan and the pitch, is again, tell your story. So I'm gonna here start a new forecast for you all, just so that we could see, you know, what does it look like when we get in here for the first time. So if I create the new forecast, so all those numbers went away, all the tables went away, and really now we're just looking first at the concepts. So we're gonna, one section at a time, look at revenue, costs, personnel, expenses. Now we won't go through all of these today in the webinar, but as you work your way through the process, it's just topic by topic by topic. And after you've addressed all of these different topics, it ends with financing. And the thing that I love about that is all the answers to the previous questions will culminate to the point where you'll know, as a matter of fact, if you need to go in and seek out financing in one way or another. You know, it'll show that, oh, in order to start this business, we need X amount of dollars. It might also show you that based off of cash flow, maybe we've got some cash on hand or cash reserves to start the business, but in order to make it through a growth period where we might run out of cash, we can predict that and then even, seek financing proactively. So all of that to say, if we back up to revenue, I want to highlight again, you've got a key question, a little bit of instruction, and then even a specific video that is focused on educating you about revenue. And same thing with direct costs, key question, instructions, watch a video, and every step of the way it's going to inform, educate, hopefully encourage, so that by the time you click on this button, add revenue stream, you've got an idea about what we're about to do. Even still, now that we go through this process, it's still interview style. I always like to say it's like LivePlan sitting down to have a coffee with you and to just ask you about your business. And so first thing LivePlan's asking is, well, what do you call this revenue stream? And maybe you're selling a product. And so you put in the title of that product and click next. And then it's going to ask you, okay, well, what type of revenue stream is this? And for products, it says here best for products. So it would be unit sales. And then it's after that going to populate the next appropriate question. So you start going down a path. If it were billable hours, then the questions would be different. Recurring charges, again, questions are different, and revenue only. So depending on what you check here, then we'll make sure that you don't miss anything. We don't want there to be any blind spots or, any holes or gaps. And so we'll just continue along and ask you questions as we go. Now it's going to ask how many units we sell. So maybe we're selling 50 of these per month or per year. I clicked over on varying amounts here because hopefully you're expecting to grow, or maybe there's seasonality. And so you can click here. And one of the neat things about the tool is you can actually, just drag your mouse across the forecast here, kind of real quick. And now we've got some numbers. Of course, we want to be more intentional about that. So maybe we start at, 50 and we say, I hope to get to 100 by the end of the year. And then we just, can drag that across here. And maybe there's seasonality and you say, maybe I'm selling lemonade, right? That's a stereotypical entrepreneur with a lemonade stand. And you say, I know I'm going to sell a lot of lemonade in the summer because it's hot, and maybe into the fall, maybe it'll die down in the winter. But the great thing about it is you get to tell your story. LivePlan wants you to think about what you are expecting or even what you're hoping. And then you put that in and then you work on the next line. And, we'll just do this again real quick for sake of time. We'll just throw in some numbers and then we'll close out this year with maybe 2,000 for year 3. And lastly, it's going to ask you how much do you charge? And maybe these are premium lemonade drinks, so $10 or something like that. So save and close, and now we've got a forecast that's starting to get built. So all you do is rinse and repeat. So you go back in, maybe you've got a service or a subscription or product 2, just do that again. And after you've done that, go into direct costs, click the button, answer the questions. Now, if at any point along the way in LivePlan, you just need support, number one, your advisor's your best advocate. So connecting with your advisor. Number 2, in the tool, we've got this little question bubble over here, and you can live chat with LivePlan support. So you simply click on chat with support, little bubble comes up, offers a few suggested articles. Those might be helpful. We could click onto one of those, and then we could click live chat if we wanted to chat with somebody out at LivePlan. They're phenomenal, super supportive. They are available 8 to 5 Pacific, Monday through Friday, so business hours. If you need to reach them after hours, then we've got email support where you can put in your problem, question, suggestion, and then they'll reply back within 1 business day. So great support there. And then also LivePlan Help Center. This is a website that we've developed with all of the frequently asked questions. So you can click into there and actually get articles with screenshots and other tutorials so that, it's really easy as you're getting into LivePlan to understand what it's asking you to do. So if you need help, find one of those articles. All right, so we've gone through the 3 main, what I call the main areas, and that's pitch, plan, and forecast. And these last couple areas we'll kind of breeze through pretty quickly. These are for validating your business idea, checking if things are feasible. So if we click into benchmarks, this is where you can search by an industry code if you know your NAICS code or North American Industry Classification System code, or you can simply put in, maybe I'm a gym, I can do a keyword search and it'll give you some data to select from. Then you can go in there and select Western US, or maybe you're selling in the entire US. You'll select one of those geographic areas and then the size of your business. And then LivePlan will give you comparisons for about a dozen different metrics, then compared to your forecast. So if I switch over, say, to a working forecast here, rather than the one that we just built out, you could see, oh, look, my numbers are vastly different, or maybe my numbers are close, but you've got that direct comparison, benchmark to forecast, and the call out of the variance. With each of these, you can then click in to learn more. You've got more 3-year average, 10-year average, as well as education about how in the world do I understand what these metrics mean. So we always want to educate our entrepreneurs that are using our tools. And then finally, well, actually one more thing I'll mention is that for lending and investing, benchmark data is something that you will likely find your lender is comparing to. It may not be the exact data sets that we're providing, but it's going to be similar type data. So if you can get in and run those comparisons, work with your advisor to make sure things are tight and look good before you go to the bank, you're going to have more odds of acceptance rather than rejection. And it'll save you time on the revision process, because you basically get in and start to do that process before you ever go to the bank. And then the last couple of sections here, the milestones, these are just like it sounds. What are the upcoming milestones or key events for the business? And you can mark those, give a due date, even receive email reminders and assign responsibility. And then over time, you'll see some of those, those have gone late. Maybe I just forgot to check them, but it also helps you to see, maybe I've reprioritized. I thought I was going to expand the business or add space. And, I just haven't gotten to that because this other opportunity came up. And then, of course, over time, you can see completed milestones for the business as well. And then the last section is the dashboard. And this is for QuickBooks online users or Xero users. So those are 2 online accounting platforms. If you're using either of those, then you can actually sync up with one of those software solutions. Oh, here it is up in the top right. You can sync up with one of those software solutions and it'll pull in your historicals so that you don't have to build your forecast or start with your numbers from scratch. And so that's a great shortcut if you're already up and running. If you aren't using either of those, you can actually update the data yourself. So at the end of the month, you could go in and say, oh, this is what I closed out the month for sports massage, deep tissue massage, personal training, etc. And so you can use the dashboard feature with the accounting software and also without. But what the purpose of this is then is to keep your plan as a management plan rather than just a plan for a loan or for financing. And you and your advisor can actually get in and start to look at metrics, comparing past, present, and future for your business, and start making key decisions about, what you want to do with the business over time. One other thing that keys into this as well is back into the forecast. We have something called live forecast, and it's just like what you would think. So if you imagine I set out a forecast January of 2022, and then 23 and 24, well, it's currently over 2/3 of the way through the year. And so, well, what do we do about the months that I forecast that are now in the past? So I used to think that these were the numbers that I would make in those past months, but really what's more important is what actually happened at this point. So with live forecast, I can click this little button and this will pull in the QuickBooks information, the actuals to date. So again, that helps me to see not what I thought I was going to do, but actually what I did compared to what I thought I would do. But even more than that is if we turn off monthly view, now we can see that, of course, 23 and 24, those are still future focused, but 22 is a combination of 8 months of actuals with 4 months of forecast. And then we can start to see if we're ahead or we're behind. And if we're going to meet those annual targets, maybe we've got to make some changes in the last quarter of the year. So in summary, connecting in your actuals with your forecast will help you and your advisor to be thoughtful and to strategically manage to that plan over time. So I think that's about it. The only other thing I would mention is just a recap is connect with your advisor early and often in the good and in the bad, not just the bad. They're great for helping with the bad, but I like to say, advisors are both firefighters, but they're also architects. And so you want to take advantage of them for the building, not just putting out the fires. And then when you connect with your advisor, ask them about LivePlan. Say, hey, I'd love to start putting in a basic forecast or maybe a growth forecast. I'd like to possibly get a loan. What do we have to do to talk about that? And ultimately, once you've got your forecast, that's kind of the heavy lifting. The great thing about a tool like this is we have a way for you to have up to 10 scenarios. And so if you come to your advisor and say, gosh, I wonder if I'm pricing my products correctly. Well, you could use your product or your forecast, go and create a copy. So don't mess up or tweak the actual forecast. You go and make a copy, change that price point, say, what if we did that? And then you can see how that cascades through the rest of your numbers. Same thing with growth, adding employees, all the different what if scenarios. It's really easy to just tweak one variable, make a change, and see if your business can sustain that. So with that, I'll close out and hand it back over to Kelly.
And hopefully we don't get feedback because we're pretty close, but we're going to try this. And I'm just going to give you a real quick tour of where we are right here, because this guy right in front of me has the great job of putting footsteps on the carpet floor to drive somebody's booth that direction. Yeah. So we'll just give you a little view of the trade show, and then we'll have a couple questions that we'll answer. So just a little roundabout to kind of give you some direction of where we are and what we're doing here. See, that doesn't look like fun. Kind of continue on around. There's Josh and Maureen in the background, and there's your panoramic 360 back to me in the booth. Okay. And we get the great sounds of a trade show being set up. A lot of noise we don't usually get. It's fantastic stuff. Okay, we have a couple questions, Josh, and let's hit those questions. And then maybe I have a question for you as well, or maybe some comments. Yeah. What happens if you use QuickBooks offline? So if you use the QuickBooks desktop, is there any way to import the data into the software? Yeah, great question. So the short answer is there is not a way for the desktop to directly sync with LivePlan. What you would do is, close out your books, and then you would take advantage of that manual input option in the dashboard. So you just go to update manual and then just plug in those data points. We used to have that option, but without telling a long story, QuickBooks is moving more and more towards online being their only offering. So at some point, the desktop will be obsolete, and QuickBooks Online really will be their only option. We had a way to sync dashboard or the desktop together. Anyway, too many details. The short answer is you could use the update actuals manually option. So yesterday, I got to spend 6.5 hours with your team, and it was fascinating to get into a deep dive of forecasting and things like that. One of the things that came up was how effective LivePlan is for about every business purpose or situation when it comes to business planning. It could be a pitch of 1 page. It can be an executive summary of a few pages. Lenders, I think, was brought up, are starting to get on board with a lot less information and not the comprehensive business planning. Can you comment to that? Yeah, absolutely. And a little bit of our backstory. So our company's been around since the late 80s. Before LivePlan, there was a software called Business Plan Pro that was at that time the industry leader. And it was much more of the longer form, traditional business plan that, frankly, lenders and investors are no longer looking for. With LivePlan, we've actually even shortened the outline. Like the outline that I showed you earlier in the plan section is a very brief version of a business plan, again, that lenders love. They enjoy the brevity,
but that it still hits on the topics that are needed. So with our current version of LivePlan, it hits that desire of the audience, the reader, that it's not too much, but it's just the right amount.
Fantastic. Well, the versatility, I believe, is really amazing as far as what you can do with LivePlan. And you know, we're out of time. So thanks. You know, I gotta do mention, you know, Josh was invited to the sponsors luncheon that's going on right now, and he elected to do this.
Yep.
So we're very thankful for that, and thankful for our relationship, and thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been my pleasure.
A lot of fun. I mean, a lot of fun. A trade show booth. I never thought
That's
it ever
right.
happened.
The 130th.
There we go. 2.5. Wow. Okay. Well, that's going to wrap things up. So for Josh Fegles and our producer, Maureen Busherding, I'm Kelly Bearden. We'll be back next week with number 131, where our special guest will be Celeste Young Ramos from the Restaurant Success Center. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about what's going on. Remember, she's also our Small Business Development Center advisor for both restaurants and HR. So, and came from a franchise. So this FAST Act is going to get some good attention next week. So we will see you then. Goodbye, everybody.